Hello everyone, my name is Emily and this is my January wrap-up. I'm filming this video late, but really, is that anything new anymore? So, I'm not gonna lie. I had a pretty terrible reading month in January. I just had so many things get in the way of either reading or completing books this month. I had a graduation ceremony this month. I had applications to submit. I had parents visiting for Chinese New Year. So all around, a busy month. And on top of that, I didn't like a few of the books that I picked up this month. So all in all, I only completed 2 books in January and I DNF'd 2 books. I never thought I was the type of person to DNF books, but here we are. I know it shouldn't be a shame because if you're not enjoying a book, you shouldn't continue reading it. But nonetheless, I feel like I sunk all of this time into a book just to not complete it. I know we can talk all we want about the sunken cost fallacy, but I still don't feel good when I have to do that. So anyway, let's talk about the 2 books that I did finish in January. First off, I finished What If by Randall Munroe. So Randall Munroe is the author of the webcomic XKCD. It's a nerdy, computer science-y webcomic. I absolutely love his stick figure drawings. So this book, What If, are basically all of his detailed answers to all kinds of questions about absurd scientific scenarios, like what if soulmates existed, or what if everyone on the planet pointed a laser pointer at the moon, what if the Earth suddenly stopped rotating. So I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I love Randall Munroe's fun and lighthearted writing style. He explains things so well in a really accessible manner. And of course, I love all the cartoon visuals he drew for this. It was just a fun read and a really nice break from the books I wasn't really enjoying. I found myself skimming a bit through some of the more mathy portions of the book. The thing is, he explains things really well, and it's not that I don't understand math, I just find it a bit dry. I think my enjoyment did vary topic to topic. Some of the more mechanically focused topics I maybe wasn't as interested in, but when he was calculating the lifting strength of the force, I got really into that. Also, his breakdown of the scenario of soulmates is pretty good. So yeah, if you're in the mood for anything scientific, I highly recommend this book. The next book I finished in January was Justice League Dark Volume 2, The Books of Magic. So Justice League Dark is basically focused on the more magical side of the DC universe. The primary characters are people like John Constantine, Black Orchid, Madame Xanadu, Zatanna, just to name a few. So in this book, basically there's a race to find the Books of Magic. The Books of Magic are these MacGuffins that uncover all of the secrets to existence, basically. But then the primary villain, Dr. Faustus, is trying to find them, but also there's a risk of the members of Justice League Dark being corrupted themselves if they get their hands on them. And I totally didn't expect this, but they introduced Timothy Hunter, who is the main character of the Books of Magic series, which is written by Neil Gaiman. I always thought of Timothy Hunter being a Neil Gaiman character somehow. It didn't click with me that he's actually part of the DC universe until this volume. So yeah, we got to interact with that character again, and I really had fun with this. I found the first 20% of this volume a bit slow, but then the rest of it was pretty enjoyable and it really picked up, and I'm really looking forward to continuing this series. Now on to my DNFs. The first book I DNF'd in January was Hiddensee by Gregory Maguire. So this is supposed to be Gregory Maguire's take on the Nutcracker, which is that original ballet you probably know by Tchaikovsky. And this story is focused on the toy maker Drosselmeyer, who makes the Nutcracker. And it seemed like the perfect setting for me. It was set in Bavaria and it was very folksy and fairy tale-like, but I just really couldn't get into this book. It was just incredibly dull. I didn't feel like the story was going anywhere. Basically, from what I was reading, the main character was just sort of wandering around by himself most of the time. There was kind of an allusion to fairy tales, but then we got taken away from that and we had to deal with the reality of him wandering around again. And I was like, bring back those fairy tales. Why can't we have more of that? So yeah, I was really disappointed by this book because I really enjoyed other books by Gregory Maguire. I remember liking Wicked, and I definitely enjoyed his Confessions of an Ugly Stepsister. But yeah, I got 80 pages into this book and it was way too slow and I was not motivated to continue reading it. And I read other reviews on Goodreads and people thought the same thing and also DNF'd this. And so I figured life is too short, so I just moved on to other books. The other book I DNF'd in January was The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. I think I've already talked about DNFing this book in another video, so if you've seen that one, this probably doesn't surprise you. But yeah, I really don't like this book. This is supposed to be a vampire story slash romance set in 1870s New Orleans, and on its face it's the perfect kind of story for me, but where do I begin with this book? I didn't like any of the characters. The main character, Celine, she's a seamstress on the run from Paris. She just felt like one of those modern girls who's just shoehorned into a historical setting, and she kept going on and on about her dark secret, and I was like, if you talk one more time about how you have a dark secret, I swear to God. When she meets the first potential love interest of the story, she keeps going on and on about how he's like the devil or he's like Lucifer, just laying on the cliches thick. I didn't like the writing either. It was just full of like pauses and ellipses, kind of like a Sarah J. Maas book. I always find those pauses really annoying. It's almost like the author is staggering the narrative voice of the story. Also, the purple prose is just not good purple prose. Like, there's well done purple prose, but then there's really bad purple prose. Bad purple prose just really gets on my nerves. So Renee Ahdieh said this was very inspired by Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire. So it's one thing for a book to be inspired by another novel, but this book just seemed like a straight up cheap imitation of that book. Like, Celine finds this group called La Cour de Lion, and that's just a straight up reference to Lestat from Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles because his last name is de Lion. But yeah, overall it just felt like this book was trying to be like other better books, but failing. I got 132 pages in and I really could not continue. I was really sick of the main character and really sick of the writing. And also, there are no vampires in this book so far. I was scrutinizing each of the characters. I was like, is this a vampire? Is this a vampire? And apparently there are no vampires until more than halfway through this book. I was really trying to read this, but then thinking about reading it just really bummed me out. And me dragging my feet through this book was probably a big reason why I didn't read that many books in January. I'm finally making it out of my reading slump, but I have not forgiven this book. So yeah, I want to say that I might give this book another chance, but I highly doubt it. Like I said, life is too short for books you're not enjoying. So let me know in the comments if you have read any of these books, if you enjoyed any of them, and let me know what books you read in January. Like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you like my content. You can follow me on Goodreads and Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you in my next video.